the one subject that really wasn't touched on or wasn't represented too much are the women of this in this scene. Did you try and reach out to like Tawny Katane or Bobby Brown or just anyone? Because like you watch the metal years and women were all over the place, and they were, as you say, there's no hit records without women. They weren't treated that fairly back then.
Yeah,
was there a scene for them, like a GTO type scene or something like that?
Well, I think that there was even more than that. I think, and that's why we made the point. I got Lita Ford's in the book, and she gave a great interview. But also, we follow the whole Vixen story throughout the book, and I think that was an important one to do. And Tom spoke to all the members of Vixen for that and framed it in a really instructive way, I think, because here's a band that has some success, and it's an all-female band, and they really they have their own unique perspective on and their own unique experience, which I'll let Tom speak to since he really followed that thread. But then we speak to like, Madam X, which was Roxy and Maxine Petrucci. But beyond that, there's also Sharon Osbourne's in the book. There's people at the labels, some of the women at Elektra that was the head of their video department talks about doing the Looks That Kill video with Motley Crue and doing, Faster Pussycat video where they had Russ Myers, the director. And so you have these people. We spoke to the woman who was the quote unquote rack girl with Wasp, which was basically the woman on stage topless who would get decapitated during the show. And and so all of these people, we get their perspective on what it was like to be a woman in this scene. And, some of these people, Sharon Osbourne is going to have a different perspective than the rack girl, because Sharon Osbourne was in a position of power.
Right.
And so she didn't have to worry about any of this shit. Like, if anything, people were scared of her, so you do get a lot of different perspectives from these women. And really what it all comes down to is what position of power you held in the industry. And that was really how well or not well you were treated.
Yeah. And, the members of Vixen end up in an all-female band because they're not being accepted. Cher Ross was the bass player, and she's a great bass player. She was doing like sessions, played with Helen Reddy and stuff. She decides she wants to get in a band, and she's calling for auditions. And she'll call like numbers in the paper, and like the guy bands are like, "There's no way. Like, you're not even coming to the audition." Like they're so. The reason I don't think we went to sort of like the quote unquote video vixens and stuff like that, because
or even the fans, like the ones that bring the groceries they're supporting these guys.
I mean, it's funny because we definitely cover it, but I think that honestly I don't know if those people would really want want to talk about it now. We sort of left the women in our book are the ones who are like, yeah, man, these bands, they had like, women bringing them the groceries. I don't know what those so it's I think everyone is more empowered. We do also talk to Vicky Hamilton, who manages throughout the book Faster Pussycat, Guns N' Roses. She has a hand in Poison, and who gets, I think she's the one person who really might get short shrift because of her gender. Like, she never ends up really managing a band like once they get to the next level. I can't really give you an answer. I thought that probably that would just get sad, but all those people are acknowledged. Bobby Brown is acknowledged. There's one sort of like slightly sad scene in the book where we talked to a woman named Heidi Margot Richmond, and she was a costume designer for like Warrant and all these other bands, and super like highly intelligent, like I think has a law degree, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, she's doing this stuff, and she's at the Warrant photo shoot for Cherry Pie, and you know, there's a picture on the back of the Cherry Pie CD thing where there's a car and the woman who's on the cover with the roller skates, you don't actually see her, but like you see her kind of on her knees, and she's supposed to be, I guess, you know, I don't know what the right best word is. Performing oral
We
sex
get
on
the
one.
idea, yeah.
I'm Jerry Dixon, the bass player in the
How
band.
proper.
I'm like, it's not the woman on the cover, and it's not Bobby Brown. And you know, there's a story of like the woman who had been hired to do it. The model shows up and like she's gained like 30 pounds since the audition, and so they send her packing, and they're like, Heidi, would you do this? And like, so Heidi actually is. You see her legs in the photo, and like, I don't know. I think that that's an important scene to have in there, and it's like mildly funny, but it's also like to me that was almost enough. It's like you're like when you start like really like extrapolating the experience of the woman who shows up in the at the video shoot to be in the thing as the person performing fellatio on the bass player and gets sent home because she gained too much weight, and it's like that's real. You know what I mean? That's, and I'm sure that weird things like that happen with like all kinds of photo shoots for these bands and videos and stuff. But we sort of use that as like maybe a symbolic, or like, well, you can build out from there of like everything that was going on with that, in the same way that we don't really get excessively prurient with like groupie stuff, because like there's a couple of them, but really when you, it's all the same story. You know, I don't know. Do you agree, Rich? Rich is like, shut up, Tom.
I know it's a tough topic.
No, I think that's a discussion that we had about this stuff. It's like, how deep into it do you want to go, and also how, you know, how much are you just telling the same story over and over? It's like you have to give people an idea. Like you tell them a few of these stories, and they're sort of indicative of what's going on overall. But I will say with any of the women that we did speak to, like we asked them these types of questions. A lot of them didn't, when they look back at that time, like it wasn't something that was in the front of their mind. And maybe that also speaks to some of the negativity of the time, because it wasn't even something they thought about that much, because it was just the way the world was, unfortunately, you know, not in a good way. So some of them didn't really have that much to say about it beyond just telling you what had happened to them. And I think just from hearing their experience, like you can draw conclusions about what it must have been like to exist in that world as a woman at that time.